Man, what's going on, everybody? It's Still Alive, and we back with another one, man. And as somebody who grew up on hip hop their whole life, I grew up listening to all types of music, man. But as somebody who grew up on hip hop for a big portion of their life, man, of course, you just naturally want to know what happened to Tupac and Biggie. And it seems like we're starting to get some answers, and some of what they're saying is shit that I had already thought for years, watching all the documentaries and shit. I thought they wanted Tupac killed. I thought that he just happened to stomp on the wrong Crip's head and they got him back that night. You know what I mean? Now, Biggie, I thought Biggie looked like more of a hit. Like I thought, but this is coming out that Keefe D might end up being involved in the Biggie killing too. So we're going to get right off into this and see what the fuck is going on, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Let's do it.
Waiting for the guy that allegedly killed Tupac, Keefe D, to await trial. It took decades for him to get arrested, even though a lot of people like Vlad, you know, they basically said that they had solved the Tupac murder for years now. But now we're hearing new news. I cannot believe this. They're saying that Keefe D might have had something to do with the murder of Biggie too. Are you telling me this guy killed Tupac and
That's
Biggie?
insane,
Like, you're going to
dude.
tell me he killed King Von next? But it's really what they're saying, okay? This says Keefe D hits yet another roadblock ahead of the Tupac murder trial. And it says Keefe D set to face trial in the murder of Tupac on August the 10th, but his defense team is starting to get frustrated. He's been having a rough go of things ever since.
See, like, this is evidence that's been known that Keefe D's nephew, Orlando Anderson, is the one that shot Tupac. But it's just taken so long for the cops to get caught up and finally charge him. But it looks like now Keefe D might be involved with the Biggie murder also.
2023, when he was arrested and placed in jail for allegedly orchestrating the murder of Tupac himself. Now the man wants to make sure some of his testimonies are kept out of evidence. This is insanity, okay? So it says, for instance, Keefe D claims he had an agreement with the LAPD that any statements made during police interviews would be exempt from the record. He also believes this extends to his book, Compton Street Legend, and his defense is apparently working hard to make sure that these exhibits are kept out of trial evidence. However, the prosecution is fighting hard to make sure that the book and police interviews can in fact be used.
Yeah, he had a proffer agreement for what he was talking about with the cops at that point in time. Doesn't mean if you go out and speak about it on fucking interviews on Vlad TV and shit, that shit can't be used against you in the court of law, you dumbass.
According to Fox 5, wait a minute, I need to change my little settings on. I've just got these Beats headphones. What are we saying? Are we still rocking with Beats, or is the jig up? So it said, according to Fox 5, the prosecution argues that Keefe D's book actually voided the previous LAPD agreement. If the book and the interviews are used during the trial, his chances of winning become slim, and the defense knows it. So this says Keefe D fights the prosecution. Meanwhile, Keefe D's defense is claiming that the prosecution is actively trying to sabotage them. During Tuesday's hearing, they accused the prosecution of filing 4,000 pages worth of documents about the death of Biggie Smalls. The prosecution believe both cases are connected, but the defense says it doesn't have time to respond to the documents. 4,000 pages worth of documents about Biggie.
Cases are 100% connected.
This is insane. So it says Keefe will be back in court on June the 30th, and he's going to find out whether or not these exhibits will be exempt from the record. If you may recall, it's his own book that was the catalyst for the initial investigation and subsequent arrest.
Dumbass.
So just let me give you a little bit of background. Keefe D
You get away with murder. Why would you go out in the public and talk about it?
basically talked himself into his own indictment. Many interview clips, including this one, is what led to him being duly nicked for the murder of Tupac.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it.
And those of you who don't know nothing about this case, Keefe D used to go on Vlad TV and just completely tell the whole story.
Describe what you want.
Okay.
And the story that he used to go on there and tell goes along with the evidence.
It's
I only want to show you a small part of this, nothing grisly.
becoming more apparent that Dwayne Keefe D. Davis likely talked himself into his own indictment nearly 3 decades after the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Idiot.
We now know more evidence considered by a Clark County grand jury in returning an indictment against Dwayne Keefe D. Davis. It consists mainly of Davis's own words gathered over the past few years from interviews he gave.
I got no reason to lie.
In various public forums on YouTube and in an autobiography, Davis described the events that brought down the rap legend.
Y'all need to come buy my book. Compton's a street legend. It's a good read, man. It's nothing but the truth.
Davis admitted to being
Exactly. Listen to what he's saying. He knows that he wasn't lying, and now he thought he had an agreement though the whole time with the cops that anything he said couldn't be used against him since his nephew was dead and all this. Well, you dumbass, that was only a proffer agreement for while you was in there talking at that point in time. As soon as you went out in public and started saying this shit publicly, you gave them every right to come down on your ass.
one
You
of
get away with murder, you don't talk about it publicly.
4 people in the infamous white Cadillac that fateful September night. He says his crew noticed Tupac because the rapper was hanging out of the front passenger side window of a black BMW driven by Suge Knight along Flamingo Road near the Strip.
Shit, he had half his body out the window. Yeah.
Contrary to what gang member Denvonta Lee told the grand jury, jurors heard Davis claim in an interview with Urban City TV it was Orlando Anderson, his nephew, who shot Shakur on September 7th, 1996.
He gave the gun to Orlando, and Orlando shot Tupac and Suge.
Yeah, he did his thing, yeah.
Davis also said after
Look, he's owning up to it, but man, you got to think this is the same type of shit. Like when anybody who's an artist like myself who has done anything, like you got to be careful what you say in your music and interviews, anything like that. And I ain't been in no involved, but yeah, you got to be careful what you say, man.
after the shooting, his crew went back to their Strip hotel to pop bottles.
Didn't nobody know but us 4 that was in the car.
The other 3 men in that car with Davis are now all deceased, and investigators say it's unlikely Davis would have ever been arrested if he hadn't opened his mouth.
Orlando, not to tell nobody, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I said, on this type of you can't be telling nobody. 'Cause that's the only way you're going to stay free.
Davis is
Should have listened to himself, man.
The fact that he sat there and said, "Yeah, he told me don't tell anyone," that's the only way you're going to stay free, bro. You arrested for that now. You are going down for that right now. So Keefe D's legal team would initially argue that Davis wasn't involved, and then his past confessions, they would say they were just fabricated for fame, and basically they were just saying he was just getting clout, he was just trying to get money. It wasn't true. He didn't really do any of that stuff.
He had too much insider information. He knew too much about the actual crime. He knew too much about everything that went down for him not to be involved in it at some point in time.
I don't know if we believe in that.
Defense attorney Carl Arnold says we shouldn't believe what 60-year-old Dwayne Keefe D. Davis has to say about the shooting of Tupac Shakur.
He keeps repeating this, is that the whole thing is unfair. He feels that he had protection from his earlier statements that were made.
Those earlier statements to police in California who were investigating not the death of Shakur, but the death of Notorious B.I.G.
He didn't have any information but said, hey, let me try to, rehash this Tupac murder, give you some information that he heard on the streets, and he filled in the gaps as they were asking questions.
Arnold says Davis lied about his alleged involvement in Shakur's murder, saying he was in the shooter's car and handed him the gun. That eventually unraveled, according to Arnold, where those private statements to police turned into public interviews, paid interviews.
He's sitting over there, how come I didn't make any money on this? And now someone's presenting him with the opportunity to make some money, combined with, okay, he's looking at these are his last years of life. Let me tell my story.
So isn't it kind of stupid to do that and then get hit with a murder charge?
Yeah, it was really stupid. But then again...
Yeah, he's an absolute fucking idiot. You got away with murder for almost 30 years. And then went out in the public and fucking blabbed your fucking mouth about it and got yourself wrapped up in a RICO case or a murder case that's going to put you behind bars for the rest of your life. What a dumb fuck.
Here's what he's thinking is, he already said all these things way back when.
Arnold says it's now up to prosecutors to prove Davis's own statements are true beyond a reasonable doubt. And as far as Arnold knows, there's no video or DNA evidence to prove that.
How do you defend those statements?
Again, there's no proof of that. That's the first thing.
So his own words you can't take for granted is what you're saying?
Correct. There has to be some type of corroboration. Anybody can say, well, I gave this person the gun and he shot Tupac.
So if he didn't do it, does he know who did?
No, he does not know who did.
And why should we trust Keefe D now?
You shouldn't trust Keefe D.
The backstory to this is Orlando Anderson is the dude that Tupac and them jumped 15 minutes earlier. Keefe D and Orlando Anderson and a bunch of Southside Crips were at the Mike Tyson fight. Tupac and them caught them, jumped on Orlando Anderson, and then they ran out, and then Tupac got shot 15, 20, 30 minutes later, something like that, within the next 30 minutes. And all this happened, yeah. So
You absolutely shouldn't.
And they were in a white car. He knew the caliber of gun, and he knew what type of gun it was. He knew all of this. Like, he knew way more. He knew where the shots came from, where the shots, like, from the back or from the back driver's side door. Like, he knew everything.
Should be the thing that causes him to walk.
Arnold says he plans to subpoena Suge Knight for the trial. Knight is the only living witness and was driving the car Tupac was riding in. Arnold also says another witness we could...
Suge Knight's not going to come and testify. I don't see Suge coming to testify. Suge is one of the ones that's always held it down. Whenever he got time, he just did his time.
Hear from Sean P. Diddy Combs. I'm David.
Imagine they actually get Diddy. Imagine they actually get Diddy and Suge Knight. They get the whole gang back together to put Keefe D away so that these guys can get time taken off their sentences. You know, the rumors going around that, you know, this could be Suge Knight's only way to kind of get some time knocked off of his sentence if he actually puts away.
I don't see it happening.
You know, that killed Tupac, man. So getting Suge Knight to testify, the thing is that might not be the best idea, because even he alleged that Keefe D told him that they got Tupac.
Wait. If you were locked up at any Illinois juvenile detention center, like Cook County...
Yeah, no, Keefe D's story is 100% the truth. Him and his little nephew killed Tupac.
Informed. This could matter
Illinois
to you.
Staff allegedly...
Along with 2 other people.
I used to keep a box at the Staples Center. So I'm at the Laker game. Fucking with a bitch here and there. Got some bitches with me. I step out for a little fresh air. I see Keefe D. Keefe D was spooked. First thing he told me was they didn't have nothing to do with the killing of my homie Buntry. I responded to Keefe D and said, shit, if I thought that, I'd be on you already. And he said, but I'm going to give you something that's real true, and I didn't want to tell you because we've been knowing each other, you know, since we was kids. So Keefe D was like, look, I need the money. Puffy and them supposed to give me $1 million. They gave us most of the money, or half of the money. And that's how everything unraveled for is what happened in Vegas. At that time, you know, I'm on parole. I look to the left, look to the right. The whole place is packed. So I'm like, I had to go take the piss. Let's have this conversation in the restroom. He was like, man, I ain't going in that restroom with you. And good thing he didn't, because even though we was friends, but if a motherfucker pays you to kill us, I got a bullet into my skull. And one of the best friends I had ever had in life is Pac. And he ain't here. I'm gonna beat the fuck out that nigga in that restroom.
So this is what Suge Knight's saying, right? So if Keefe D thinking, oh, I can get Suge Knight to testify, it wasn't me that shot. Suge Knight over here talking about, you told him you got paid $1 million, you got paid half of the money from Puffy to do all of this, right? It's insanity.
Yeah, but Zip is actually the one. If you study the case, Puffy gave Zip the money, and Zip started a nightclub with it and never paid Orlando or Keefe D or any of them a dime, which is probably the one thing that's going to save Puffy for going down for racketeering case and for conspiracy to commit murder.
So I just
because
want to...
the money never got to Keefe D.
direct you guys to this. This is the original Fox 5 article, okay, that's basically saying that they want to introduce the evidence from the murder of Biggie. All right. Now, it doesn't say specifically, but a lot of people are speculating that what is actually happening is that basically they're gonna include all of this evidence, okay, thousands of pages of evidence about the murder of Biggie. It says prosecutors added they introduced and turned over additional records related to the murder of Christopher Wallace or Notorious B.I.G. to the court and the defense team, and they said some of that material appeared to be related to Shakur's murder and Keefe D. Davis. So they're saying the Biggie murder was connected. Now, I wonder how much involvement they're going to be able to put on Keefe D. It says Keefe D's attorney said the defense still expects to be ready for trial on August the 10th, but they raised concerns about the timing and the volume of the newly disclosed records. They said 4,000 pages were received the day before the hearing, and multiple people are reviewing the files. So they're really desperately trying to get to the bottom of it, and we might find out soon whether or not they actually do have anything that links Keefe D to the murder of Biggie as well as Tupac.
Kendall, well, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis is back in the Las Vegas courtroom today for a status check in the Tupac Shakur murder case.
This trial keeps getting pushed back. Today's hearing is mostly about scheduling and kind of housekeeping, if you will. Both sides are getting ready for a much bigger hearing that's happening a week from today. That trial readiness hearing on June 30th is expected to cover whether the jury will be sequestered, kind of like they were during the OJ case, and also whether jurors will hear Davis's past statements to police and read from his book called Compton Street Legend. For
or
now,
listen
the
to his
trial date
interviews.
is still set for August 10th, but that's been pushed back so many times.
They're probably going to end up getting the Vlad TV interviews and all that stuff into court too.
Some folks are
where he
wondering.
literally sits down for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and talks about every part of the whole freaking incident from the start to the finish.
If it's going to happen by then.
Over and over again.
So, as you heard, all right, the hearing was today, the 30th of June. And so this is the latest update. It says the judge is actually definitely going to allow his memoir as evidence in the trial. So the Nevada judge said prosecutors can use statements from his 2019 memoir in the upcoming trial about the murder of Tupac. And there he is. He's actually up in court. It's crazy. Okay. So far, right, they denied his motion to exclude his statements made about his time as a shot caller for the Southside Compton Crips in his book Compton Street Legend. All right, you might sell a few more copies of that with all of this going on.
Yeah, facts.
And that has a first-hand account of both of the murders of Tupac Shakur in 1999 and the murder of Biggie in 1997. Sorry, 1996 was Shakur, 1997 for Biggie. So the attorney Michael Sanft, representing Keefe D, argued statements made in his book and media interviews shouldn't be taken literally. They were just made to generate sales. You don't raise your hands to...
He had way too much inside knowledge to just be making all this up.
Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth when you do your promotion. To me, the problem with the analysis is on some levels, we're putting way too much credence and value and weight on statements that are made for entertainment purposes only, not a confession to a priest, not a confession to a police officer, rather to promote a book, to sell a product, all right? So he's been trying to suppress the book, as well as statements he made to law enforcement officials in 2008 and 2009. He's also facing potential charges in multiple jurisdictions for drug and gang activity when he made those statements. That's what he was facing back when he made those statements. So he was kind of...
I don't wish nobody to be in jail. His dumb ass should have just shut the fuck up and he would have got away with murder. It's all his fault, the reason that he's locked up. He got away with this for 25 years. It was his freaking almost 30 years. Like
a little low-key cooperating by the sounds of it, potentially.
1996, and he got arrested in 2023. He almost got away with it. He should have, or 2024, like he should have just shut up.
Or at least he just tried to talk his way out of the situation, and they're going to use all of that against him now. Now, he wrote in his book he was promised immunity from prosecution when he told the LAPD what he knew about both of the murders in 2008, and he told the Las Vegas police in an interview about his role in killing Tupac in 2009. In both interviews, he wasn't read his Miranda rights, and he made the statements involuntarily, his attorney said. When you're making a statement like this, you're forced into the position, you're afraid of the consequences of saying no, and the consequences of what was happening here wasn't necessarily because Mr. Davis was praying for himself, but rather the threats were made against his family and his friends that was built up over time. They literally just sat and waited, and they just accumulated more and more information until they got Mr. Davis in a position where he was afraid. Keeney agreed, at least in part, about the involuntary nature of the 2008 statements. When you're told this will never be used against you, that's very coercive, and it essentially renders it involuntarily.
Yeah.
Involuntary.
He's a dumbass,
Clark
but-
County Chief Deputy District Attorney Mark DiGiacomo argued Nevada was not aware of any non-prosecution agreement with Davis, and the facts of the case changed after he published his book. Starting from the book's publication and working backwards, he said none of the statements should be suppressed during the trial. He said had Mr. Davis never opened his mouth, had he never decided to take money and go to BET and talk about the situation, had he never decided to write the book, he probably never would have been prosecuted. But once he decides to write that book in 2019 and describe the situation, we're entitled to prove up what he's saying is true, including what he says about the facts. So
Facts, they are. I mean, like, if you're gonna do the crime, man, don't fucking give them every piece of evidence that they need that goes along with the evidence they already have. When you're saying everything and it goes with the evidence that the cops already have, they're gonna come back and get you. Like, just shut up and stay off TV with it. Stop writing books and stay off of Vlad TV. And you would have grown old, a old free man, and died out here. But now you're gonna die in federal prison.
basically, Kearney found Davis's statements were voluntary, and when he made his statements, he was not isolated, inexperienced, or uneducated on the criminal justice system, and he had counsel present. However, she said she still had issues with the agreement in the 2008 interview, and the judge determined those statements were made voluntarily. Davis's attorney could revisit them under a different legal framework later. So, Samps filed a motion to sequester the jury during the trial to prevent their decision from being influenced by the media due to the widespread media coverage. The judge denied a full sequestration, but agreed a partial sequestration will be necessary later. Kearney also granted the prosecution's motion to use the term shot caller and green light, common terms in gang hierarchy. So, yeah, man, he's in big trouble.
If you don't know what he's saying, Keefe D was saying that he got the green light on Tupac in a bunch of the interviews.
He's in big trouble, and they're describing this as a big setback, basically. His
For $1 million.
Motions being denied are being described in various media outlets as a setback. This is an L. He's in big trouble, and once they've got all of this 4,000 pages about Biggie's murder involved, it's going to be very, very bad for him. So, in addition to kind of all of that information, okay, apparently behind bars,
he's cooked.
Keefe D has been having some troubles. He's been having some hard times. Apparently, he's even gotten into a squabble inside the pen, and it's not good in there for Keefe D.
By our visit in February, Davis was also facing charges in connection with this incident in jail. During each visit from September through as recent as Tuesday, Davis insists he'll soon be a free man.
You can't stop talking, dude. You're already in jail for talking too much. Stay off the fucking interviews with the freaking news. Shut your mouth.
At the time of his arrest, Davis was living in Henderson, a grandpa by then who had fought cancer. Now he is charged in one of the most notorious murder cases in America.
A jury trial is scheduled for early 2026.
So it's not long, all right? And so there's been a lot of things going on. I believe he changed his lawyer at one point. That was quite a big thing. This comes up a little bit later in this video around here when he talks about switching his lawyers out.
Innocent. Well, Dwayne Davis has repeatedly said that he handed a person the gun used to shoot and kill Tupac just right here off the strip nearly 30 years ago. Tonight, his attorneys say don't believe him because lying to the public isn't a crime.
Albion
okay.
is a sandbox MMORPG.
Lying to the public when you got so much inside knowledge just couldn't possibly be a lie.
Explore a vast open world.
You don't think we should believe him?
In reference to his claiming to have committed a murder that he did not? No, don't believe him in reference to that.
62-year-old Dwayne Davis's new attorneys say we shouldn't take their client's public statements about the murder of Tupac Shakur at face value. A grand jury indicting Davis 2 years ago for the rapper's 1996 murder. Now Robert Draskovich and Michael Pandulo are taking over. Draskovich most recently representing ex-politician Robert Tellis in his murder trial last year. Davis's case is set for...
I don't know who that is at all. I don't really follow like crime going on and shit like that. But like when there's cases like this, of course, like I follow it because like being a hip hop fan my whole life, of course I follow. Like I want to know what happened to Tupac and Biggie. You know what I mean?
Trial next winter.
Usually cold cases that are brought many, many years later are brought on the basis of strong forensic evidence.
DNA.
So we don't have that here.
What we know prosecutors have, Davis's own words, whether true or not. In a book published with a co-writer in 2019, Davis says he was in a group that followed Shakur that night, eventually leading to him handing a gun to the shooter. That, and other statements and interviews, leading prosecutors to bring the case to a grand jury.
Did he write that book himself? Are those statements accurate?
It's not a crime to claim that you did something that you didn't in fact do.
Davis's history with police, both in Nevada and...
So basically, right, they're saying he's been lying the whole time.
Like
He's
an
just been
idiot,
capping the whole
dude.
time. He's just spinning and weaving a fake story to just make some money, okay? It's hard to believe when it's like your back's up against the wall. Now you want to say it's all not true. But
Facts. And when it goes along with the evidence so well, it's hard to say, oh, this is all not true, when the evidence really backs up the story he was saying.
his lawyers have been trying their best to basically suppress any evidence that was seized from his home, which apparently included electronics and memorabilia about Tupac's death.
With more, Kyle, why now?
Brian, the murder trial for Dwayne Davis, best known as Keefe D, is coming right up this summer, and his new lawyer wants to get some of the evidence the state plans to use against him tossed as soon as he can.
They have a right to their point of view. We have a right to ours, and nobody has a monopoly on the truth, or in this case, the facts.
And some of those facts, Davis's attorney, Robert Draskevich, wants to clarify, as he did in this 24-page motion to suppress evidence that Metro Police seized in a nighttime search of Davis's home. Davis's lawyer writing the police didn't have good reason to break down Davis's door in the middle of the night, so to speak. And that this affidavit Metro showed a judge in order to get that warrant shouldn't have been enough for her to allow.
Are we serious? If I went out and said this much evidence about a crime, they have so much evidence to get a warrant. They didn't have enough reason to get a warrant. Are we being serious here?
The nighttime search. The motion to suppress says the court was misled and that there was bad faith, meaning the judge should toss any evidence the police recovered that night. The 8 News Now investigator spoke with Draskevich earlier this year.
We keep our eye on the ball. What we do is we lay out all the tasks that need to occur before the trial date, investigation that needs to occur, interviews that need to take place, subpoenas that need to be issued. We are just beginning that now.
And now, this motion to suppress, accompanied by 186 pages of supporting documents, including a list of items the cops took from Davis's home.
Look at Traveler. He's just like, yup, bullshit.
After the search,
Just bobbing
like a
his
USB
head.
drive, an iPhone, iPads, laptops, and other tablets. The second page showing the police also grabbed a copy of Vibe magazine on the murder victim, the rapper Tupac Shakur, a copy of the book Compton Street Legends, in which Davis is alleged to have confessed to the murder. District Attorney Steve Wolfson, back when Davis was arrested over 2 years ago, standing behind the evidence Davis is now challenging.
This is an important case. We wanted to make sure we get it right. We wanted to make sure we had legally admissible evidence. We wanted to make sure that we felt comfortable that we had sufficient legal evidence. You know, if you're going to charge a person with murder, he has a right to believe that the system would only bring charges if there was sufficient legal evidence.
Davis's attorney is no stranger to high-profile cases. Robert Draskevich just defended a former porn star who was convicted of beheading her ex-husband. Andy represented disgraced politician Robert Tellis in his...
That case was crazy. You got to go look that up in your own time. But
what the fuck? She beheaded her husband?
Basically, there's been a lot going on, okay? So last month in May, prosecutors alleged that Keefe D had already been bragging about the murder on a jail phone call. And this is him bragging about the killing in shocking audio, basically. Audio tapes allegedly capturing a man bragging about his involvement in Tupac's murder have surfaced and could become explosive trial evidence. Keefe D spoke about his role in the killing of Tupac on several recorded phone calls behind bars, according to a Las Vegas legal source. The alleged recordings are a new twist on the trial, with him pleading not guilty. They're going to introduce the tapes as evidence in the trial, so we will hopefully be hearing about those. I mean, they've got cameras in the courtroom, so we should be hearing everything that's going on with this. The district attorney's office believes Keefe admitted to being involved in the crime during the
Facts. I wonder if it's going to be as public as like the YNW Melly trials, where they actually have, and because not every trial like they let be so public. Like they don't necessarily let all of us watch every trial, but it's getting more and more popular.
prison phone call, insisting it was his First Amendment right to be able to talk about Tupac. It's not your First Amendment right to kill people and brag about it, though. It's the killing that is the problem. He apparently mentions his involvement in the murder along with intricate details about what happened while discussing potential film and TV projects related to the case. Well, he's now going to be in a bunch of TV reporting on the case, so that's interesting.
He's finally going to be as famous
denied
as he
any role
wanted
in the
to be.
murder. All right, they're saying he's lied to get fame and fortune.
Yeah, he's finally going to be as famous as he wanted to be.
This is all just one big ad for his book, really, isn't it? His lawyer has played down the significance of those alleged recordings that could surface at the trial, saying, here's the thing, at the end of the day, when the state of Nevada has to rely on that kind of info to prove their case beyond reasonable doubt, they've got a huge problem. I'm not sure they do. He says, I've seen the state before, they listen to phone calls, but it's sort of like, nah, we don't care, we don't need them. He did take issue with Davis's apparent craving for fame. Do I agree with him writing the book and doing all these interviews? No. Keefe knows I'm in his corner, and I have personal pride issue here because I want to win this case too, and I want to do the best job for Keefe I can. It's a great bit of promo for the lawyer, isn't it?
Especially if he wins, because we all know he's guilty. So if this lawyer can manage to win, kind of like the OJ lawyer, his career is going to go crazy.
Anyway, now people online are basically
going to be one of the biggest. Every person who gets a big case is going to be trying to get this lawyer if he wins this case. If he beats this Tupac case after he's been talking about it for years and years and years and years, and this lawyer wins the case, he's going to be one of the biggest lawyers ever. Like, just watch. He's going to turn it. He's going to start doing every big case.
Whether or not Keefe D is actually lying about whether Orlando Brown was actually the one who shot Tupac. People are saying the real murderer of Tupac Shakur, Napoleon, shocked Big Dre, shot Tupac, not Orlando Anderson. Gaddafi did say a dark-skinned arm was what shot Tupac. It says Big Dre murdered Tupac. Orlando Anderson should have been in the army if he shot Tupac. It's impossible. It says Keefe D lied. Big Dre wasn't scared to shoot Tupac before Tupac's murder. Big Dre murdered someone, right? And they're saying that's him. So I've already posted this and it was censored like the mods are allergic to the truth or something. Plus I posted the pic with Pac in the hospital, which none of y'all didn't have. Let the truth be known and stop feeding into the Keefe D, turning his nephew into a hood legend. So the problem is it doesn't make sense. Then again, neither does Orlando leaning over Dre. Maybe the only likelihood is that Dre did it, then put credit on Orlando.
Yeah.
But the counterpoint is the initial statements were that if it was a skinny arm based on the police reports.
Okay, so whether it was them four in the car for sure. Whoever pulled the trigger could be different. It could have been this other dude they're talking about that was sitting behind the driver, or it could have been Orlando who was sitting in the passenger seat behind, the back passenger seat, but leaned over out the back driver window.
Nearly 30 years later isn't going to sway that. Says Orlando leaning over Dre isn't that far-fetched in my opinion. Dude gets beat up, then he's just going to let another dude handle his business. That doesn't sound right to me. People saying everyone in that vehicle was there with the intention to kill Pac. They all did it. So didn't Gaddafi say it was a big arm out the window? And Dre being on that side makes sense. People saying I think Orlando did it. His facial expressions on that America's Most Wanted interview give it away, in my opinion. Says I'm always shocked by the theories put out about who killed Tupac. No disrespect to OP. It was Big Dre or Orlando. There's a dude that just wrote a book about it, and he was doing an interview on YouTube 2 days ago that I saw. He interviewed a ton of Orlando's people and said there was no way he could have come back to Compton after getting beaten up by a rapper, Tupac or otherwise, and that's how he felt. But let's keep it a buck. Tupac knew better, or maybe he didn't and just thought he was untouchable being with a crew of hitters. And I'm saying this is one of the biggest Tupac fans alive. I have All Eyes on Me tattoo with him throwing up the West Side. But as I've gotten older and more mature, I've come to realize he had no MF in business to run up on Orlando.
No.
It's easy for me to say that as a 46-year-old man. Pac was 25, and at 25, I was still getting in fights in the club for people stepping on my shoes, LOL. Orlando was a certified hitter. It's still fuck him, but the bottom line is Pac fucked with the wrong one. I think he was a target anyway. Diddy's hoe ass.
See, this is how I always felt. I feel like there was already a hit out on Pac from Diddy and Orlando and Keefe D and all of them knew this. And then once Orlando fucking got beat up by Tupac, that was their reason for going and getting Tupac's ass. I always said this. I think Tupac just jumped the wrong gangster for real.
He'd have a bounty on Tupac and Suge making them targets, but Pac would have lived a lot longer if he kept walking and let them MOB dudes handle MOB business. Said if Keefe wanted to turn Baby Lane into a hood legend, he wouldn't have stopped saying Lane did it when he finally went public, beginning with his appearance on Death Row Chronicles. Respectfully, telling some cops and a Fed in a room that it was your nephew back in 2008 and then wanting to keep that to yourself once you go public with a story a decade later is the opposite of wanting to make Anderson a legend. For multiple reasons, I still believe it was Orlando Anderson that pulled the trigger on Tupac. People saying, same, Orlando did it. He was fucked in the head. Having to lean 3 foot to his left isn't going to stop him. All right? People saying Reggie Wright Jr. They say a photo of Pac in the hospital. You mean in the morgue? In that case, ain't no way. Is this going to be it? It's not safe for work. Hang on. Yeah, that was not safe for work. I can't show you that. But it says, these are the pictures a news reporter got when she dressed up as a nurse and snuck into Tupac's room.
Oh,
that's crazy.
shit.
I remember seeing these pictures 10 years ago on the Tupac Truth channel on YouTube. The channel has since been wiped from existence. Every interview with everyone that saw him said he had so many tubes hooked up to him in his head, and his nose was swollen and ballooned up. I believe this to be very real. Damn.
Insane.
That is crazy. So look, all right, we're going to wait and see what finds out. I'm very, very interested in these 4,000 pages of documents that apparently relate to how Keefe D is connected to the Biggie murder. I want to know what that's all about. I want to know what the deal was, what the involvement was, what they get, if it was get back, if it was a lineup, all type of reasons. They're saying that maybe Biggie got lined up by Diddy and Diddy lined up Tupac and it was all connected.
See, I always thought Diddy killed Biggie because Biggie was about to leave the label. And that was Diddy's money going bye-bye. And then, I think that's why Biggie was killed. But, man, let me know what y'all think below, man. I appreciate the people that rode all the way through this stream with me, man. Let me know what y'all think below. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Still live checking out. Peace out.